the heart and the spirit of Cheng Hsin is to genuinely and honestly grasp what's true about anything. Beyond belief, beyond dogma, beyond hearsay, even beyond knowledge, is to personally, directly grasp what's true, in an absolute sense or relative sense, but to actually grasp what's true. So everybody has had times in their lives when they've had an aha moment, or you realize something. Maybe somebody's communicating something to you, or you read something, or you think about something, or you contemplate something, but at some point you don't understand, and then you do. You see? Well, consciousness work is like taking that and making it even more so. You don't understand something, and then you do. So what would we understand? Anything. What we are, who we are, for example, what life is, what the nature of communication is, what language is, what skill is. What anything we put our attention on, the reason we call it consciousness work is because we're setting out to become conscious of what something is beyond hearsay and beyond knowledge. So with this work, we're actually setting out to know directly what something is. But when I say directly, I mean you do it yourself. That's the whole thing. It's not about somebody telling you. People might facilitate you in that work, or contribute, or dialogue with you, or whatever, but you're the one that has to do it. So this is not about believing anything. We never invite you to believe anything. We're asking you to grasp for yourself what's true. And beyond even your own opinions, or anybody's opinions, or anybody's beliefs, but you're there. You become conscious of what's true. Beyond opinion, belief, conclusion, conjecture. And this is not normal for most people. Most people don't live in a world in which that's a possibility. So the first thing that would have to happen is you create that possibility, that you could actually grasp something for yourself. Now, I suspect that you have. I suspect that you've grasped something personally now and then throughout life, and you go, yes, I get it. I get it. Well, it's even more. When you speak of the relative domain, obviously you're making a distinction between what's relative and what's absolute. And most people don't make that distinction because everything that is known is relative. Everything that exists is relative. So there's no real reason to make that distinction because everybody experiences everything as relative. It's always in relationship. It's something and nothing. It's this or that. So when we talk about the absolute, we're not talking about another relative domain. So now, when in the work that we do here, say in Cheng Hsin, what's called Cheng Hsin, we work on both absolute and relative. In some domains of work, enlightenment, like Zen, they only work on the absolute. What is absolutely true? And some domains like cognitive science or something like that, they only work on the relative, more psychology or philosophy, whatever it is. It's always relative stuff, or science. But here we work everything. See, so we're working in relative, like what is communication? Communication is a relative aspect of existence, as is thinking, as is emotion, language, skill, effective interaction, a table, a chair. These are all, relative. And so we ask, what is that? What is, what makes a chair a chair? Why is it a chair? What is communication? How does it come to pass? How did it come to exist? What is it actually we're doing when we're communicating? Or what is it we're doing when we think we're communicating but not communicating? Say, what is language? How does it exist? How did it come to pass? Basically, what we're working on, what we work on a lot when we work on what we call the relative domain, is to not overlook the obvious. Most of the most powerful questions that I ask are asked about the overlooked obvious. In other words, what seems just obvious, and so you take it for granted, and there's no questioning, there's no real investigation. But in this work, we don't do that. We look right into the obvious and set out to grasp what it is. even in relative terms. And then we also look into what exists and try to grasp what's absolutely true. So we don't, we question both in the relative and the absolute.